Is it just me, or does anybody miss old hackers? I know, it's a pretty stupid question, kind of the equivalent of, do you miss smallpox because monkeypox is here? I think the reason I miss old hackers was the shock of finding out that somebody you looked up to hacked something. Because back then, the hardest levels at the time were verified by the same small group of good players. Back then, if one of these players was outed for hacking, then it would be a big shock in the community. However, nowadays, the top 25 has had more variety in its verifiers than ever. It's a lot more common to have less skilled, more unknown players verify the hardest levels nowadays. Which, while not technically being a bad thing, it means it's a lot more vulnerable for some bad hackers to try to waltz their way into this group of players and say, oh wow, what a coincidence, we all jumped to really hard levels, isn't that weird? Here's the thing. These players spent years playing easier extremes until they decided to jump to a really hard one, got the go-ahead to verify it, then spent months uploading small progress videos until they finally beat it. While you, on the other hand, uploaded a 57% progress video on Slaughterhouse with no mic, no FPS, no CPS counter, then a day later posted a 100% progress video with the same conditions. You, my friend, are not a good player, you're just a bad hacker. And I say they're bad hackers because we caught them. Who knows, one of these people might be a hacker, and when they get caught in a few months' time, this comment section will be overblown with comments saying this exact timestamp and saying,
this aged like fine milk.
Point being, back in the day, the community's general overall knowledge on hacking wasn't as much as compared to today. Things like botting didn't exist, FPS, click counters, and raw audio weren't required for videos. The community also ran on trust, so if you had like a few completions under your belt that weren't suspicious, then a lot of your other achievements would be looked at without any suspicions as well. So, in this video I'm going to be exposing some hackers from the modern era and looking back on a few hackers getting exposed from way back when, and compare and contrast from these two time periods. And let's start off this feast on some fresh fruit. This is Fluky. Where do I even start with this guy? You know, how about I start off with this 86% and unnerfed silent club step he got back in February. Well, wait a minute. Unnerfed? 86? You mean to tell me this guy died in the cubes of unnerfed silent club step back when the nerf version of it wasn't even verified and we're supposed to believe this absolute bullshit? Obviously, this was just meant to try to ride the success that the silent club step race was getting at the time. Too stupid and fluky to realize that not only is the world record on it so far 12%, but that the unnerfed version of Silent Club Step is far harder than the nerf version. Same logic as,
Oh, I just got to the mini-wave spam of old Slaughterhouse.
wait, don't you mean the old impossible version?
Why are people accusing me of hacking? You see people beating the new version all the time.
That isn't the only stupid thing you'll see. Just wait till we'll actually click on the video. So, actually clicking on this video, you can see that he has an FPS counter in the corner, but no click counter for some reason, despite the fact that he has clicks recorded. Now, the fact that he has clicks recorded would mean he doesn't really have a need for a click counter, but I could dismantle this entire argument with just one section. This green number will count how many times we could actually hear him click the mouse, and this red number will count how many times his cube actually flips gravity. As you can see, the number is absolutely skewed to the amount of times he flips gravity. And this happens all over this video, and all of his other ones as well. There'll be clicks that are too early, too late, he'll click and nothing happens, he doesn't click and something happens. Generally, all you need to know that these videos are hacked are in the clicks. If you want a little bit more of an in-depth explanation of how he hacks, then I suggest these videos by Remy and Ferro alike. These two videos have a lot of information revealing how he hacks, like clickbots. I'd suggest watching both of them so that you can know everything about this guy. But I got a video to go on too, so let's go on to Andromeda. Everyone has heard of Andromeda at some point. Whether you remember him for his collab ports or how good of a player he was back in the day, this player has really set themselves in Geometry Dash history. Of course, older players may remember the uncardinal sin of Geometry Dash that Andromeda committed, which is hacking all of his hardest achievements. Most, if not all, other hackers would admit defeat right here, leave their channel to die, like the respect they had gained throughout the community had already done. But Andromeda did something different. He re-beat the levels that he hacked. Andromeda is a perfect example of pro player entitlement. While most people cheat or hack in video games because they do not have the skill to do insanely hard things that pro players can, people like Andromeda cheat because those hard things are in their reach, but they feel entitled to get it easily, mostly because they're a pro player. They shouldn't be struggling with this, which leads them to hacking once, then again, then they go down a rabbit hole of hacking. These cases of hacking are very few and far between. The only other examples I could think of are of Konix and Cursed. In the case of Konix, he hacked VSC out of jealousy of not being the first victor, and then took a long time to actually rebeat it legitimately, while Curse accidentally hacked Silent Clubstep and still has yet to return on his offer of rebeating it. The case of Andromeda is unique. He hacked some of the hardest levels in Geometry Dash at the time, just to rebeat them all, which is a whole lot different compared to the one level that Konix and Cursed hacked, which is why I think he deserved to be talked about in this video. While we wait on Curse to rebeat Silent Clubstep, let's take a look at a newer hacker, shall we? Of which their obvious hacking can be found in the exact same level. Wow, this level's like a fly trap for bad hackers. This player's name is Zenmode, and taking a look at his channel, he definitely seems a lot more credible than Fluky ever was. It seems he's beaten a fair amount of list demons, list challenges, a bunch of stuff really, but he has no records on either of the websites. You think if you've beaten levels like Devil Vortex, Belangu Vortex, Erebus Vortex, you would probably submit them to these websites, right? Just something to think about. So, let's take a look at those videos, why don't we? The problem with these videos is not the clicks, this time rather, it's the gameplay itself. To a casual viewer, it would look completely normal, but I am no casual viewer, so you know what I did? I took these levels in the editor, made everything invisible, including my player, bottomed the level in this invisible form, and overlaid it with these videos to highlight any discrepancies. Here's what I found. The Silent Clubstep footage in most of its parts are actually pretty clean. One of the only discrepancies I could find was in the first click, and I'm not 100% sure of it. The ones I am sure of, though, are in the ship parts. In this ship corridor, the ship is very far into the spikes. Keep in mind the hitbox that you see is not his, it's mine from the footage that I recorded. The next one is a little bit harder to tell. He ever so slightly hits the hitbox, and he remains completely fine for the rest of the video. Now, you may think he got kinda lucky, or I'm just wrong, but the next pieces of evidence I'm gonna show you are 100% gonna convince you. In his Silent Clubstep 2 video, not only does he do this weird ship maneuver near the spike and this weird saw jump twice, but he also does this. This right here is the most blatant form of no-clip imaginable, even more obvious than Light's Prometheus no-clip. It was so bad that it became a reaction image on Twitter. So why doesn't he take down the video? Try to forget it. Oh wait. Cyclic is the most infamous hacker in the entirety of Geometry Dash, and for pretty good reason. Cyclic was one of the first ever star grinders, and eventually one of the first top players. He was the first ever person to beat Cataclysm, and only in 15,000 attempts. He became the third person to beat Ice Carbon Diablo X only after Riot and Andromeda, and he did this one in only 7,000 attempts. It was pretty clear to the community that Cyclic was quite possibly the best player of all time. In February, Cyclic announced a new level that was going to come out soon called the Hell Zone. It was a remake of old 1.2 Extreme Demon. It was redecorated to a more modern style, and it was going to be verified by Cyclic himself. He verified it on February 15, 2016. Oh, wait, hold on, wait a second. Was that a cut? Players started noticing that there were cuts at certain points in the level. They questioned Cyclic about this, and about a week later, Cyclic responded, announcing that he did in fact hack the Hell Zone. He pointed out where the cuts were and apologized to the collab members and everybody who believed that it was real. A day later, fellow pro player Riot asked him if that was really the only level that he had hacked, in which Cyclic admitted to all of the levels that were on his YouTube channel being hacked, all of his streams being pre-recorded, and to tell everybody about this because he was quitting. Needless to say, this was surprising for everybody to hear. Cyclic, the world's best player at the time, was a hacker. Many people didn't believe it, including Riot. They believed that Cyclic was making it up, that he felt bad for hacking the Hell Zone, and decided to quit all of Geometry Dash because of it. Mostly because there wasn't really any proof that he hacked anything else. But hey, maybe that was the best way for him to go. Cyclic eventually came back, but he was a shell of his former self, who was once the best demon grinder in the entire game. Being able to beat extreme demons in a mind-numbingly low amount of attempts has now been reduced to somebody who uploads random demons once a year. But that's just the fate of a Geometry Dash hacker. Somebody who comes just to cause havoc, then leaves when they get caught. We all just wish that somebody wasn't Cyclic. Before I go, let me reiterate what I said in my disclaimer. Do not harass anybody in this video. Instead, be aware of their existence in case you ever see one of their videos. Also, it is pretty easy to cherry pick some of the best hacker stories from a long time ago, just like it is to call out new hackers now. It's hard to be a good hacker, but you never know, one of the top players might be a hacker. That's all I had to say, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye. I miss the old hackers, straight from the go hackers, chop up the soul hackers, set on his goals hackers. I hate the new hackers, the bad nude hackers, the always rude hackers, spaz in the news hackers. I miss the sweet hackers, chopping up beats hackers. I'd like to say, at that time I'd like to meet some hackers. Fuck.